Hello, hello. Hey, there we go.
Is this on?
Go.
All right.
Dude, we're moving, we're working.
We
Hello,
look good
everybody.
up there. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Benny. I have a red beard. It's a little gray
do.
now, but it's still red. I'm here with Jesse Woolston. I think we're just going to jump into it because it's only half an hour, and Jesse's brain is so big that you can only fit so much in a half an hour. So with that said, let's start. So Jesse, you sit at home 18 out of 24 hours a day, and you have a relationship with your computer.
This is a great start.
Right.
I love this.
This is the personal relationship that you have with your computer.
For
right?
sure, yeah. I mean, if I'm this pale,
Yes.
I have to spend a long time in the room.
Do you know what the sun looks like, or?
No, that's that annoying warm thing in the sky. Like, it's horrendous. Yeah.
So when you spend all this time with your computer and no human beings, what are you doing with this computer?
I mean, at like the fundamental level. So I'm from New Zealand, and growing up in a country like that, I was surrounded by mountains and enormous waves and things that I find to be truly profound. And as I got older, I found that so compelling that I wanted to understand them and recreate them using art. So what I do now is I spend all my time building simulation models to recreate that phenomena, to relive those experiences, really, in theory.
So nature means a lot to you.
Yeah, I mean, to all of us, and it's a human thing.
I mean,
it's a
we
core
should.
of it.
I hope
yeah.
you like nature.
Yeah, even though I spend all my time inside, this is very contradictory.
You love nature and spending time inside, and all you're trying to do is recreate nature inside.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
That's not real.
We have the ocean at home idea.
Right.
You know?
So what about nature and its sort of the computation of nature and the code of nature makes you like so inspired and connected to wanting to build that?
I mean, I look at it as there's like absolute truths. There's fundamental laws in the universe that operate no matter if it's the smoke of a cigarette or how your blood moves or the ocean or how, a warm and a cold liquid forms when you pour milk into your hot coffee. There's all of these universal laws, and I look at these things and I'm like, it's almost like a secret insight, like a Matrix idea or something like that. And I look at that and I want to get as close as I can to realizing those qualities.
Do you want to recreate the whole entire ocean? Do you think that
would be cool? I mean, no, but that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
The vastness and the sublime of the ocean is so profound. Like, it would be amazing.
So I'm going to ask you a tough question now.
Okay.
If you can recreate nature, do you believe that you're God?
How no, man? Because even if a human being tries even if a society tries their most to recreate nature, they'll never be able to do that. It's impossible. The only way you can actually truly recreate nature is to create a universe that then can create that nature. But if you try to do that, it's not really going to work because that would be computational. It's a paradox. So no. But my goal is not to be God. My goal is to feel the same things that I felt when I was a kid, when I was swimming, almost drowning in the mountains around this vastness of what I would consider the sublime in philosophy and art history.
Do you have a fear of drowning in water?
You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I was a fish, so I spent all my time swimming. But I had a couple experiences where they were quite new, where I did feel an immense fear. Like, oh, this is a different experience. So because of that experience, it gave me a profound respect for universal laws in nature, but also made me attached to it. There's like this beauty that comes when you are everything's stripped away except your instincts as a human being, where your only job is to get out of the water, and that's it. There's no bills, there's no taxes, nothing else matters.
Is that sort of bare bones what gives you excitement about ones and zeros?
Yeah, because it's the closest thing I have right now. I can't create the ocean in real life. So I'm like, okay, how can I use technology? What tools are available in my era to produce that? For instance, if I was a romantic painter, I would be doing what John Martin, Avzovsky, and Friedrich are doing. But I'm just in 2025.
You started off not as a coder, in a way. You were a composer.
Yeah.
Music was your code. How did you go from being able to create something that's in the Philharmonic to, I can't change this. I think this is not working.
That's right. I'm having fun, though. We're jamming.
It's not working. But either way, this incredible art that... Oh, here we go. Incredible art that you are creating.
Music was the question. So the reason why I started with composition is I want to understand, like, okay, I want to quantify emotion through time and recreate the same feelings. And then I moved from there to be like, okay, to create a sublime experience, I'm not Strauss, I can't do that. So I'm going to try to combine that with visual art to make a whole package of, I want it to feel a certain way, and I also want to, both with sound and with visuals.
When you hear sound, do you see visions or?
I mean, I don't see visions, but I can, like, I had a period where I was actually composing a lot for film and installation before my career kind of took off with installation art. I used to do a lot of compositions for film, as I said, but I was actually doing other people's installation work. And because of that experience, when I listen to music or when I'm looking at a visual, the opposite always comes into play. Like I just know how I would compose a score to a visual or vice versa. So they're naturally just married. Like I can't create a piece of visual art without the sound and vice versa because it just doesn't feel like it's complete.
Aliens come down to this planet.
Oh, now we're getting into some fun stuff.
Just asking.
Yeah.
What kind of universal language are you going to talk to them?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to talk to them because imagine I'm an idiot. I'm a New Zealander who's like, oceans. And the aliens are going to be like, but hey, I love the idea, though, of playing a piano. That'd be kind of cool. That's the orchestra.
Do you think sound is going to be the universal language to them?
I mean, I think visual art would be a bit kind of weird, but an auditory thing. Because, if you think about it, sound at its core is the most fundamental natural law. Everything is built from a sine wave. And a sine wave permeates everything from what's happening with the sound in the microphone to how our voices and our mouths kind of change shape to create, shapes to then produce words and vocabulary. And it's all kind of, at the bare bones, that's what it is. You can use a sine wave to program a robot, and you can also
100%.
make it with music. So it's kind of like, to me, that would be the closest.
Where do you see sound and AI coming together now?
In what context? There's a lot.
You're the artist. I'm not.
Okay, all right, fine.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think with AI, naturally the conversation was going to go there. I think it all, to me at least, is a supportive mechanism. It's utility. It's not the output. So with all my work, whether it's visual, whether it's code, whether it's sound, there is a quality of AI that I use, but I use very straightforward language models. And the reason why I do that is because a lot of my work needs a lot of customization, and I use programs that combine bare bones code as well as science visualization tools and VFX. So you have this combination in this world of almost like my work, I can produce it because I can drive a manual car. Like it's very, very stripped down.
Right.
And with AI, I can ask it to be like, all right, build me a script or a series of lines of code or a custom tool to achieve this one specific result, and then tell me what that would do if I translated that to a diatonic composition using a lead line and some harmony. That is why I think it's interesting. Everything else to me so far is not necessarily that useful, and I've had a reasonably longish career working with AI, and that's kind of where I find it to be magical, is that it's a supportive mechanism, and it has enough of a connection point between a word and a result where you can have it permeate these different mediums. Instead of me working with 5 people and trying to communicate what I want to get done,
I can 5 of you.
Yeah, but it's like a child though. But it gets me going. I'm like, all right, sweet. Don't have to do the bare bones. I can just get from point A to point C versus A to B.
Yeah. So when a traditional painter paints,
yeah,
they could see the strokes, right? When you create, can't really see all the details that you put into things, right?
Yeah.
So it's an output, and it's like, oh, that's beautiful, but they don't really see the depth to it. Mm-hmm. Lately, AI and the art, putting them together, seems to be a very, questionable thing.
Oh, hot take.
Hot take. A lot of artists feel that it's stealing from them, and you've talked about AI like as supportive tools. Can you talk a little more about those who may hate on it and say it's not art, it's AI? When I know you feel very strongly about that.
Well, I mean, it just all comes down to the context of how it's used. Like, yeah, if I go run a model and I jack somebody's style, that's disrespectful to that person. They spent their entire life forming that voice, and I think that is ethically that's not good. But as a means of once again, a supportive tool, whether I'm an artist and I'm like, hey, I want to actually build a model around my own work, and then that will support what I'm doing next, maybe make me more efficient if they're trying to get to a certain point with their practice and their quality of what they can do. There's a lot of room for that support, but the staunch train and then claim as mine is a bit where it gets a bit iffy.
But there's a lot to say about no artist is original, right?
Of course.
So they're all taking from other artists.
Okay, yes, but here's the variable that I think is actually fascinating, and this can actually touch on a larger conversation with AI, is that the authentic voice that every artist has is a collection of literally every single thing that they've ever experienced, from being a 2-year-old and not liking a certain food because they had a bad time with it, and they don't understand why they just don't like the smell of it when they're 65. Like, there's so much that can go into the complications of why someone likes a certain aesthetic, or, go down the list.
Right.
That is where the power is, and that isn't really a discussion when it comes to how AI is forming and training and kind of, navigating art. So, no, exactly. Artists aren't original, but we have so many more inputs, especially right now, than models do.
You like to build large models, hence things like this.
Yeah.
Airports and wherever you could have the largest screens in the world.
Yeah.
What about having those large screens and those large spaces means to you, instead of, and putting your outputs to be these sort of masterpieces that are like, that could feel like they go on for miles?
Yeah, I mean that touches on why I make digital art. It's like the sublime. It's the same feelings of the mountains and the ocean in New Zealand. Like, that's why for the last 15 years I've focused on large-scale public art, and that has been my mode of being for a very long time, because that is the only arena where I feel like the work is in the right context, where I can be like, oh, this is close enough to the same feeling that I have felt, right, and I want to reproduce that. And what I want to do is be conscious of what that experience was. So when you see my work on a large-scale surface, there should be both a sense of, oh, this is aesthetically pleasing, it's pretty colors, but then it also should feel somewhat anxiety-inducing, because that, to me, is the honest representation of nature and why it goes into art and how it should be represented. It's honest.
Do you have a lot of anxiety? It's okay. We can.
No.
These are just strangers we don't know.
Oh, God, no. They seem like lovely people. This is all right.
What about anxiety and art make that, like, what? Tell me about that connection more, because I know that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a powerful emotion. It's a powerful feeling. I think it kind of enables you to be in a heightened state. Obviously, the problem that I would have with it is when it gets too far, it becomes almost like instability versus it being adrenaline-inducing. But I think it is, I don't push it so far that I'm actually going to make people uncomfortable. That's why I compose my scores a certain way, or I have a lot of beauty. Like, if you listen to the music attached to these larger scale works, you're going to realize, oh, this actually feels calming. Yeah. So it's about balance. It's about accepting all that somebody is and not just providing the good or the positive, because I have a bit of a hunch that if all you do is show the beauty, the aesthetical, you lose all the substance.
So you want people to feel emotions, heightened emotions.
That's a mix of good and bad.
Because then that'll give them a feeling of trying to look at the art even more deeper.
Well, it's also like it's also human.
Human in nature.
Yeah. It's literally like when I was a kid looking at this the vast landscapes, I felt awe, but I also was like, what is going on with it? This is terrifying.
Right. So when you go to the ocean, you're like in awe of the ocean, but you're scared to know what's going on under it.
Yeah. Okay. Look.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the ocean at night with no lights? Terrifying.
I mean, I think at some point in my life, yes, it's pretty scary.
You're on a boat, and
I was on a boat, and it was scary.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Remember Princess Bride?
Yeah.
Shrieking eels are coming.
Yeah.
I always thought the shrieking eels were going to come. So.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
So you've done these large scale installations, and now you're starting to work with some, big corporations and marketing companies and stuff like that. I know you worked with Dior.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and where you think that's going? I'd say, talk a little about what you did with Dior and the concept of, creative digital artists and how they're sort of getting more involved in that world.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a couple interesting points there. So with all my work, I approach it with a high level of customization. So I'm not going into any project where this is what I do, this is how I do it. I'm like, how can I take the essence of what is there and create something artistically sound and beautiful in accordance to the larger project? And that's exciting to me.
Right.
So when they approached me, I basically was like, I already know what I want to do, here it is. And that was to simulate and take all of the diversity in Dior's pond in his childhood home on the coast of the English Channel and recreate that in the garden with digital work. So they sent me a bunch of archival recordings, and they sent me imagery and footage and all this material of Dior and how he approached, making clothes and pieces in his garden. And then from there, I was like, okay, great. Now I can involve customization. I can use language models. I can use different things to support this work. And there's something that actually happened that was interesting is I actually was inspired by the old GAN work that I did back in 2017, but I did it a different way. So the whole reason why I got into AI in the first place many years ago was because I was interested in this idea of machine optics. How can I bypass my biases as a human being and kind of create from a sense of just freedom, so to speak, which sounds bizarre. And I was looking at like what was happening in the automotive industry with AI and optics, and I was like, this is great. So what I did was I built a custom script using a language model that went through all of these images in the Dior collection, from the clothes to the runway to Dior's garden, the flowers, all of that. And this custom script pulled out pixels from each image.
Can we get some quiet up there? Shh. We have one of the greatest living artists speaking
no.
on stage. Go on.
But anyway, so it pulled out these pixels, and I used that to recreate all of the colors in the simulation as well as everything else. So there's even different qualities and like pivots that you can engage in when it comes to these tools, as long as you understand the context. It's not like I create AI art, which means I go, this thing, this data set, this output, that's my work. It's looking at everything, understanding how it's built, why it's built, and then going, how can this support the vision that I want to create, no matter what that is?
And also support Dior's vision.
Of course.
Because they're looking for a way to market something that has some heart and soul into it, correct?
Yeah.
So you felt connected to his story in the past?
Dude, I told them the idea, and they were like, great, do it. That's it. No notes.
Right.
Because I feel like that is a more artistic approach than more considering, oh, this is just pretty simulations. Like,
right.
let's just do it, right?
Right, because I think sometimes AI could just be lava lamps. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right.
Can be many things. Yeah.
And they could be pretty, and you could look at them and walk away. You don't take anything from it.
Mm.
So how do you get people to look? Go back to what we talked about before. How do you get people to look at things like the Dior and understand that this is based off the childhood home and so on and so forth, and the depth that you went into and the history to build that model?
Honestly, I don't put in an enormous amount of effort to even create that. I create immense depth in my work, but I'm not expecting the viewer to walk up and be like, now I know everything. It's there if they want it, but I'd rather someone walk up and have a moment with themselves. I want them to be like, this is weird. This kind of feels like, the ocean outside my house when I was surfing at 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all there if someone wants to explore, but I'm not going to expect the viewer to take that further. Obviously, Dior spoke about it a lot, and they had a whole campaign, but it wasn't really the point,
Where do we go from here with emerging artists who are now using tools like this? Like, what would you say to them as they start now?
I mean, if you're an artist, no tool matters. Who cares? Whatever is going to fit the vision and the thing that you want to use to create. Like, the chisel doesn't matter. The paintbrush doesn't matter. I don't know why that would be.
So you would consider AI as a paintbrush?
Yeah, of course.
As a chisel?
Yeah.
It's just a tool.
100%. And it should be that way, at least in the art space for now, because, you're making art for human beings, not machines. Like, we'll have AI models do that for other AI models, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So.
Are you afraid to be replaced by AI yourself?
No.
You're always going to need the human part of it.
Well, that's the only thing I care about. I'm all in on the creative quality of trying to create things that are profound for human beings. That's going to be fine. In 10 years, I'm probably not going to be using these tools. I have no idea what I'll be doing, but the message and the point and the goal will stay the same.
50 years from now, someone looks back, you still look stunning and took some pill that makes you look young still. What do you want people to think about when they see your work?
The real answer is I want to get to a place where the works that I can build that connect with nature is so profound that someone walks in, doesn't even care who made it, doesn't even see my name, and they just have a moment themselves. That's the goal. I want, with my goal is to be able to, like I've had such profound experiences, and I feel so immensely lucky that I was born in a country like New Zealand, that I kind of, I come to America and I'm like, oh, I could make the same experiences through art. I want to do that. That sounds incredible.
Right.
So that's the goal. With it, and the other thing too is, once I achieve it, I don't really know what I'll do after that.
Do you think with AI and sort of the tools and the things that you're creating and other artists, we're creating more specific moments that consumers or people looking at art are having, and it's almost becoming like a provenance to who they are, right? So it's a moment, like instead of going to a museum and then seeing a painting, they're taking more with them. They're taking the experience with them. So like, you talked to like you just made a physical that was 12 feet tall?
It was 8. I should have been 12.
8 feet tall.
Making it even harder.
You almost died making it, right?
Yeah, that was really smart.
And you wanted people to go there when you said this to me to have an experience.
Yeah, like I wanted it to be something that you see in the room, not online, things like that. Yeah.
And what about that experience, that physical experience that they were having? What are you looking for, that emotion from out of them?
Well, I mean, the amazing thing about sculpture, especially if you're trying to produce something that is compelling, is that it shares the space with you. Like the one thing that I quickly learned doing installation art, especially large-scale installation art, is that when you walk into a space and there's a massive piece of art in front of you, you're not looking at your phone. So there's this opportunity you can create with the viewer that allows them to have a very special moment with themselves with the work that you're doing. So that is why the work was larger and it was relatively aggressive, but it was balanced with the digital work, is that I wanted to create. I mean, to be honest, one of the goals with that work was to create a moment where you walk in and be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And that means that you've stripped away all of your expectations, and then now you can figure it out and be like, what is this? How does this speak to me?
So I talk about this a lot, about a digital citizen versus the next generation that are sort of like digital natives, right? We're all building now, and we're kind of like immigrants to this a little bit. Yeah. Versus the next generation, like my kids, when I brought them to see your piece, they're digital natives. It's part of who they are.
Yeah, they get it.
Where do you think we're gonna go, sort of in that direction, to like start creating for the next generation instead of really using these tools, kind of really to make us happy,
right?
But not realizing that the people who are gonna really use them are the kids that are 5 to 25 years old. I mean, you're probably what, 22?
33.
Okay.
I wish.
You wouldn't say that out loud. But,
yeah.
How are we going to build better for these digital natives rather than building for digital citizens?
I mean, I think it's to understand the categorization of everything.
Right.
Like if someone grew up with Instagram, social media, all these qualities, then I have to sit here and think, okay, what is profound about a sculpture? What is profound about a painting? Even if someone is, would rather scroll TikTok, what can I do to bring the beauty of those elements and then place it in the right situation for that person? That's part of the reason why I'm absolutely in love with hybrid works. I'm going to, over time, work with more mediums and combine them more together with my simulations. And that is me taking the best parts of every quality and combining it into something new. And I think that is going to be the bridge, and I think that, in terms of at least what I want to do, will help support the incredible qualities of different generations all together as one.
So when we talk about digital art, a lot of people say, well, we're never going to get rid of physical art. But I don't think people truly understand that that's not what digital art is, right? I mean, digital art doesn't mean that we're just getting rid of anything physical.
Yeah.
It's a change in using
It's an extension.
tools, correct?
Yeah.
It's an extension of what we're doing, using these tools. Talking about your simulations, because I think we're running out of time. How big, how crazy can you get with, let's say you're sitting at your computer, you live in LA, LA has a blackout because you're using all of the energy on making a simulation.
Yeah.
How big can you think, if you had all the computing power, what you could do? How crazy can you get?
I mean, I know the answer already. I mean, one of the defining factors in my life was when I was invited to Cornell to talk with the astrophysics department before COVID, and we were going to collaborate on simulating the universe. And I wanted to build an installation that was all about space and black holes and planets and all that kind of thing. And I think that would be the direction. I would love to simulate a black hole with some scientists that know what they're doing.
Do you think you could do it?
Yeah. NASA's already done it. It's
Could
fine.
be some people in the audience who have that computing power, so we should ask.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, yeah, exactly.
What would go into recreating the universe?
Oh God, oh, come on, man. You can't have it's just everything, and like it's so far beyond comprehension. Like
Would you?
It's so hard to answer that because
would you rather go into space or recreate space?
I'd rather go into space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you need to go into space in order to recreate space?
Can I go to space? Is someone here from NASA? Can we do this?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know.
You know?
That's why I'm asking the question.
Sorry, what was the question again? I was just thinking we go to space.
If you're going to recreate a black hole.
Yeah.
What about a black? Why do you want to create a black hole? Is that the anxiety again, essentially?
Well, I've actually had a recurring dream my entire life of a black hole, but just because of the fact that black holes, I think perfectly articulate the sublime. We don't know what's past the singularity. There's this enormous body that we can't even understand in terms of the scales of some of them, and they are both beautiful and terrifying. It's like it's almost like the fact that there's like two right now actually coming close together out in the universe. We don't even know what's going to happen because of that. Like that to me.
This could be the last conversation we have.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, isn't that amazing? Yeah. Like people even theorize that we are all in a black hole, or even just the fact that we are created through a combination of a white hole and a black hole. Like there's so much that goes into the universe that's amazing.
Do you think there's a chance that we're living in a simulation that was built by someone else?
Okay, here we go. Here's the tech.
To build another simulation?
I mean, who knows? Probably, like a nerd that spends all the time in their room.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it could be, yeah.
All right, so what's next for you, Jesse? I mean, you're obviously we're talking about building bigger simulations, but before you build the universe and a black hole.
That'd be cool, man.
What are you planning on next that you could tell everybody about?
I'm kind of venturing more into creating hybrid works and what I would consider to be like a hyper sculpture, which is as many mediums as I can possibly garner into one collective work. And that's where I think there's so much opportunity with where I want to go. Because you can consider like, okay, what about the weight and the firmness of stone versus the mirror and the fluidity of steel? And then how do you get with paint and Vaseline and wax against a beautiful undulating simulation? There's so much there, I think, that can be developed that can capture all of the qualities that we find to be profound. So, yeah.
I'm going to leave you with the last word.
Okay.
I know that this is your passion, this is your life. You're working on film now in Hollywood.
I do
You're
a few
working
things,
with, which I'm not allowed to talk about. You said there's an NDA thing.
Yeah.
You said you're working with these big brands, and to me, digital art and the artists that I work with and hang out with, and I think I'm very lucky because I do believe that we're at the beginning of a digital art renaissance. Right? Seems like contemporary art has its time. Now we're utilizing
spicy take. Yeah, there we go.
Utilizing all these tools, and there's new creators coming. But more importantly, we're giving the ability to actually create more artists because they have these tools to create, and there's so many different things that we could do. I know that I hope and feel very strongly that you're one of those people. But how big do you think that this digital art movement could get? Do you think we're just starting, or do you think?
I absolutely think we're starting. I also think I don't necessarily think in terms of size. I almost think of the ocean as an expansion. Like the fact that, so I grew up my dad was a teacher, and then he moved in technology when I was a kid, and I used to spend all my time in the garage building servers and computers. And everybody...
It's a garage, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
For anybody who wants
garage.
to know.
That's fine.
No.
But no, the other part was I grew up in a creative family. Everybody was artistic.
Right.
And yet I'm the only one that was able to make a career out of it.
Right.
So I look at that and I'm like, digital art has such a lower access point in terms of what someone can do. I look at it as, I'm so optimistic about just that being a door into being able to produce other artworks or just be an artist. That's what I'm excited about, expansion versus it being the most popular.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to leave us with anything? You have 56 seconds.
Great. I'm going to sit here in silence. John Cage,
Thank you, Jesse, for coming. Thank you to Danny, who put this all together.
Thank you, everyone, as well.
And if you have any questions, please speak to Jesse. His brain is gigantic. His hair, which is amazing, It actually has a brain under it, but
you wouldn't know that, would you?
Wouldn't know
know?
that. Thank you so much, Jesse, and I hope
Thank
that we have a lot to talk about in the future.
Of course. Cool. Thank you.